You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly ReQua, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly ReQua. Today we're talking to Kersti Nieto, trainer at Dog Training Camp USA in Raleigh, North Carolina, on how to potty train your puppy. Welcome, Kersti.
Hi, Polly. Thanks for having me.
Well, I wanted to let you know that my youngest, who's in 6th grade, since we've moved to Colorado, has decided that she wants a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Well, that's a good place to live to have one.
Well, to add to a small, medium, and now a large dog, and to think about puppy training and potty training a puppy is overwhelming. So welcome and give us some tips on how to potty train your puppy.
Sure. So potty training starts the moment you come home with your dog, no matter how old they are. I guess if you're coming home with an itty-bitty pup, you want to make sure they don't get any chances to go inside the house. So taking them out regularly if they're really young. So say if you bring home an 8 or 9 week old puppy, leave them outside every hour, every 2 hours.
Okay.
And if you're not directly with them, lead them to their crate so that you know exactly where they are, what they're getting into, and you can kind of monitor their activity. So, if you let your puppy out to potty and you bring them back inside and they run around for an hour and a half, they probably won't connect that they need to go outside or that they need to let you know. And a lot of times puppies get that, they don't know what to do, and they just go wherever they stop in the middle of play and go. So if you promote that calm inside by either, having them snuggle on your lap or they're playing in the house but you're directly with them, that's going to give you an idea of, okay, I need to take my dog out now. A big thing that I do, I keep a little chart, especially for little ones, so that you know when they've pottied, when they've eaten, when they've had water, when they've had nap time, when they play. So you kind of monitor that activity for a week or two, and it gives you an idea of, okay, my dog was able to hold it for an extra hour, this week, and then gradually you start to see a better pattern of your dog.
And when do dogs typically, are they fully house trained? Like
if you're really consistent with it and patient, and you kind of set that routine for them right off the bat, usually around 4 or 5, I'd say 5 months for most dogs. Here and there are some that just take a lot longer, or they don't grasp that concept, and you just have to stay consistent and push through it. And even then, puppies are still gonna have little accidents, but it's important not to dwell on it and just keep moving forward. One thing you can do when they potty outside, you want to have a potty party. So it's the biggest deal. It's the happiest thing. Yay, good potty. So they start to see, that makes them really happy when I go outside and do my business. As a trainer who takes board and train dogs, when I have little puppies, I also let them outside with my pack of dogs, because they sometimes, I guess with the smells and the routine, the puppies start to see, I go out where the other dogs go too. So having those smells and everything associated with outside kind of helps them along the way.
Yeah, we've had dogs before that have trained. We had a black lab and a golden retriever who trained Chuck.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck was potty trained in about 2 weeks just by following the big dogs out.
That's fabulous. And it's not always, not everyone can have another dog to help, but if you have an adult dog in the house, they're going to be one of your biggest helpers with setting that expectation that potty only happens outside.
Yeah, Maddie, our black lab, now had a little bit of an issue. She used to like to snuggle on the girls' beds and then wake up, and the girls must have been doing their homework or not paying attention, and Maddie would just go to the bathroom on their bed.
Yeah.
So we struggled with potty training with Maddie.
Yeah. And that's hard sometimes when you've got a big family or multiple people are working with the dogs. Having that chart too, so everyone kind of knows, oh yeah, I'm supposed to let the dog out now. Keeping everyone on the same page is really important, because the kids will get the dog out and then they might go do something different and forget the dog, and then the dog might start going on the bed or retreating to a room. We see a lot of dogs run to the dining room or somewhere where people don't spend a lot of time, because the puppies think that this is a good place to go because nobody goes in here. We don't spend time in here. So they'll sneak off and try to do it in private, when in their minds that's an okay thing to do. So if you have a dog sneaking off into another room, make sure you clean that spot up really well, and then spend a little bit of time with them there. You can feed them their food in those places that they're sneaking off to, because most dogs, they don't want to soil where they eat or where they play and sleep and spend time. So once you eliminate all of those places to sneak off to in the house, and outside is the only place where they get great attention for it, it starts to click in their heads that, oh yeah, outside is the best place for it. And also monitoring them inside using baby gates, or if they're out of their crate and they're hanging out in the house, make sure that they don't have full access to the whole house, just like you wouldn't let a little baby, wander
Sure.
the house. It's that same supervision, just to set them up for success.
When with our large dogs, we've always had bells on the door, and every time we take them out, we would take their nose and just kind of tap the bell.
Yeah.
And then we had a golden retriever who would sit up in the bedroom on the bed overlooking the backyard, and when there was a squirrel or a chipmunk, all of a sudden she'd come running down the stairs and the bell would be going off. Yeah. And
they're like, well, it means outside. A lot of dogs, they don't quite associate that bells mean potty. They think bells mean outside.
So maybe that was our problem.
Yeah, and really smart dogs will take advantage of that. My dog did the same thing. I taught her to use bells, and the first night that she learned how to do it, I was teaching her, and I had like a little 10-minute interval where we'd work on touching the bells and going outside. And then that same night at like 2 a.m., I heard the bells ringing, and I hopped up out of bed and took her outside, and she just wanted to play. But I realized she had trained me. She's like, okay, I hit that bell and we go out and play. So
and meanwhile, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to get it.
Yeah, I thought she really had to go. But it is a useful tool once your dog gets older and they just kind of let you know that they need to go outside. But you also want to make sure that your dog isn't telling you what to do and initiating all of that playtime, like, hey, I want to go outside, and being demanding about it. So as far as bells work for older dogs, but for little babies, I would keep it really, really simple.
Sure.
Start that routine, monitoring their food, their feeding and water.
And then let's talk about, you do get a puppy, and let's say you let the dog out at 10 o'clock, and either you put the dog in your bed or you put it in a crate. When should you take the dog out? I mean, should you set your alarm and let the dog out at 3 or 4 in the morning?
Yeah, I would do that, especially if it's a little baby. If it's a young puppy, 8, 10, 12 weeks, letting them out once in the middle of the night, probably for the first week, is good. And then if you see that they're not having those accidents, maybe just set your alarm to get up a little bit earlier, just to kind of see if they're able to hold it longer. And also if they're in their crate or in their bed, that they're not eating anything, they're not drinking water. So if you set that time at the end of the night that, okay, no more food and water or treats at the end of the night, that's going to help you to know exactly what your puppy is going to need, when your puppy's going to need to go out.
Okay. Yeah, because if you have the dog downstairs, let's just say, if you have a big crate, and then we've always potty trained by just putting the dog in bed with us. Yeah. Because then you can, when they start to get up and wrestle, you can just run outside.
Yeah, that works too. That's a good point.
Then you have a pet that is always in your bed.
Yeah, if that's what you like though, if you like them being in your bed, then that's totally fine. My older dogs sleep in bed with me, but the younger ones have to earn it. And part of that is because of potty training, or also one of my dogs is really mischievous and I don't quite trust him not to get into things when I fall asleep. He's very smart and he watches, okay, when is she paying attention, and I'm going to wait until she's...
Oh, wow. A sneaky one.
Yeah. So each dog's personality is a little bit different, but if that's what you want and it works really well for you and you're not having any issues, then go for it. I don't see any issues with that.
Thank you so much, Kersti, for being on the podcast. We certainly hope you will come back. We love your tips.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love talking about dogs, so it's never, there's never a time when I don't want to talk dogs.
Well, and there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.